Welcome back to our second episode of Barbells, Business, and Boobs, where Christy and I discuss navigating everyday life as lifters, business owners, and being a woman in a male-dominated industry. Hi, Christy.
Hey, what's up? Second episode, here we go.
Second episode, and we are just working out all the kinks. This is the fun part. If you're new to our podcast, this is the fun part. We love talking about all the educational content we have for you guys. Behind the scenes, it's a little complicated. We'll have to do a whole episode about what it's taken us. But I'm excited today. We came across each other through Instagram, as you learned in our first episode, and we organically just came to the topic on our first episode of influencing. So Christy and I are both coaches, but we both have had experiencing influencing, as they call it. And we have things we like about it and things we don't like about it. So, Christy, let's just dive right into it.
Yeah, so the term influencer often gets a bad rap because you think of people like selling skinny teas and just like selling you stuff. But I think it's important to know, as coaches, athletes, people with their own brand, it's important to leverage those types of sponsorships. Everyone's always like, how do I get a sponsor? How do I get a sponsor? And it's important to like leverage those relationships. And also you can make, extra money and also kind of support your own brand just by partnering with other brands. So it is a smart idea, but there's definitely ways that I like to do it versus, someone else, stuff that, it's important to do it how you're comfortable with. And I think a lot of people just act like sponsorships and brand deals are to come out of the sky, but they don't. It's not just about being just a good athlete, unfortunately, or well known. It is a business relationship. They want a return of investment when you work with them. So it can get complicated, but I actually have had a couple calls with like friends who are athletes, like professional strong women, about Chrissy, how do I get more sponsorships and stuff like that? So I give a lot of advice on that, but there can be some really great ones and there can be some that are just like, well, here's some free nose torque. And it's like, that's cool, but it's not going to pay the bills.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's my first rule of thumb is it is, like you said, a business partnership. It is not just free stuff and free money. Like you do have to put the work in. And I think it's especially important. And I know you and I both align with this is that we wanted to remain authentic to our brand. Like my brand and my reputation, I guess you would say, is more important than any amount of money. Although there has been times when I'm like, that amount of money does look nice, but can I do that? Does my soul allow myself to do that? And I've had to say no and really look at things. So let me first start by asking you, what was your first sponsorship ever?
Okay, so this was we go back to when I was living in Chicago in 2000, I think this was like 2017, 2018. I was powerlifting and I just started posting more on social media because, I was trying to promote my brand, and I was feeling more myself because I went through a breakup. So I was posting more of those flexy selfies and stuff. But I was like, my social media was growing from like 10K to about 30K. In my time at Rockwell Barbell, when I was sharing a ton of stories of my clients doing like cool stuff in the gym, my own lifts, I was like yelling at the barbell, having nosebleeds and stuff. So Instagram liked that at the time. And so my following started growing and I started getting, and like smaller brand sponsorships started to get more popular because people were seeing like, hey, yeah, we can have all these athletes promote our stuff and it's working. They get the promo code was like all the rage, 10% promo code. And as a lifter, you wanted that because it validated you as a lifter, right? This person wants to sponsor me. So I think my first sponsorship, was Stronghouse Project, which is a brand who has like knee sleeves and different equipment. They have a gym in Vegas.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, you live in Vegas. So
Yeah.
they were my first one. They reached out to me. And at first I was super hesitant because I didn't want to sell out. And not like partnering with them be a sellout because they were a smaller brand. They were like, with the cool kids and stuff. But I kind of looked down on people who were like shouting out promo codes and stuff. I was like, I don't want to become a salesperson. I didn't even like promoting my own stuff at the time because I didn't, understand. Because, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but so they were my first sponsorship, and, that was great because at that point, you're not really asking for much. You want them what I would want it is them to promote me a little bit, repost me and stuff. And I'd promote their stuff, but it was mostly just an exchange of like, we're going to give you free equipment and you're an athlete. And it was a good way to be involved. So that was my first one, but I did not make any money. And which is fine. But eventually I grew, after I moved to California, I was kind of like, I bet I sell them a lot of shorts. And, and after some discussions, I think they thought I was asking for too much. So I left. I mean, not like too much. I wasn't asking. I was just like, damn, dude, like, just.
You realize your worth.
Well, but yeah, because when there needs to be transparency there of, like, hey, here's your promo code and this is how many sales you had or something, rather than just like sending you like, oh, we got once a month or something. And, you get busy, and if other sponsorships and stuff pile up, you're like, yeah, this is kind of cluttering stuff. Because the first things first is we have our own brands we have to promote. We're our first sponsor. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people forget about that. So anything else clutters that message if you're shouting out other people's message. So especially when you're a coach and you have an online business, you need to be thinking about being your own sponsor first, and everything else is extra, because frankly, I can make myself more money than 10% of the shorts I sell, whatever. I mean, maybe if I was a huge on online, but so that was my first sponsorship, and definitely a good experience overall, because I was involved in like some seminars with them and stuff. But, at that point, just some free knee sleeves. That was cool. That helped support me as a lifter. But once I grew my following even more, I started to ask for more from brands. What about you?
Good. Mine, I actually remember the distinct moment of when I kind of like, that moment when you blow up on Instagram.
Yeah.
It was 2015. And when I say blow up, I mean, I went from like, I think I had like 800 followers. I just made an Instagram to like a couple thousand, but it happened overnight, which was pretty cool. I was doing heavy farmers at Total Performance Sports, which was a gym in Boston. And I was just being me. Like at this point, I didn't think about anything I posted. I was like, oh, Friday the 13th, getting weird with some heavy farmers. And I posted some like spooky music to it. And I remember the next morning, I was like, oh wow, that kind of blew up, and it made me feel. It's funny because now I could really care less. If anything, now it's the opposite. I look and I'm like, oh cool, got like no views. But I remember I was like, oh, that's cool. People think I'm strong, and girls think it's awesome. So I was really excited. And then shortly after that, starting Strongman, the owner Cale Beck reached out to me, and he was like, I'm going to send you some shirts. And I was a group message, and one of them was my friend, a lightweight, Alicia, who I worked out with at the time too, and they offered to pay some of I think it was like our entry fee to the Arnold. And I just remember like my heart beating. I think I called my mom. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. Like that to me was just such a pinnacle moment. I had a regular job. I wasn't thinking about making money. I was just like so obsessed with Strongman that I couldn't believe someone wanted to pay my entry fee. So I was like over the moon. And I ended up writing some articles for Starting Strongman, and it actually was how I first started coaching online. I worked for Starting Strongman before I ever even thought about having my own brand. So, and then we actually touched on it in our first episode, but you and I both did a commercial for them years later. So that was a great experience.
Yeah, and that goes to show too. It's like, yeah, of course I kind of was just like poo-pooing on like, oh, I got free nose torque, like woohoo. But partnering with those brands can really create opportunities. And of course, you did with Starting Strongman because you aligned with them. Like you're all about Strongman. You believe what they did. So it was like good to like promote each other. And, it's just a good brand to be around. So, you would just want to, it does bring up opportunities. So I'm not saying, oh, just because you have a lot of followers or that you're strong, you should be asking for all this money. But yeah, of course, no, kind of that you're actually doing an exchange in a relationship. So it seemed like it turned out good. I mean, you got to be in a Super Bowl commercial
Yeah.
eventually too, and probably got you clients.
Yeah, and eventually, like you did with Stronghouse, I left. There was no hard feelings. I still
Hmm.
refer people to this day. I use their
Yeah.
gym finder for clients. There's no hard feelings. It was just I was ready. They were taking, because they're a company, they were taking a certain percentage of what I was charging for coaching. And I was like, I think I can do this on my own now and
Yeah.
make more money. So again, no hard feelings whatsoever. It was just, that was my first taste of it. And then
Hmm.
I didn't do anything for quite a while. There was kind of a gap there.
Hmm.
Actually, when I was at my highest level competing, the only sponsorship I had was SBD, and they weren't paying me. They were just giving me free equipment.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. What's hard about our sport is because not like hard, but I mean, you're not doing strongman to make a lot of money or have big sponsorships. Like I think now, which is awesome, is that more strong women are getting more attention by World's Strongest Man and the Rogue and everything like that. That's awesome, but it's not why people are doing it. I think the best thing to what brands can do now is obviously pay money, but more so like at least cover the expenses for travel or some,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know RP Strength, who I work with, they have like a scale of like if you placed top three at a certain national contest or there's certain levels to it. They'll pay a certain amount of your fees, which is really cool. So I love those kind of structures, but I think it's important for those brands to support the athletes. But a lot of brands involved in the sport are smaller. I mean, you know um, not like micro businesses, but it's still hard to cover all those things. But I definitely think it's important that they like look out for like what you actually do, which is like to compete.
Mm-hmm. I want to touch on RP Strength because you and I were both on the team. You've been with
Uh-huh.
them for how many years?
Um, Probably like 5 years.
Yeah, because I was on their team. So it's funny. So I was on their team for 2 years, and then I left simply just because I didn't have
Hmm.
enough time to post. It was when I was in
Right.
medical sales. No hard feelings. And I actually came back during COVID, and great experience. I loved working with them. I loved the team. I feel like they did a really good job having a team environment, with the emails and the reminders, and they have quality products. I've read a lot of their ebooks. I love their templates. And then at the time, I was transitioning into bodybuilding, so I had to kind of go in a different direction because I wanted to learn. I wanted to have a
Hmm.
hands-on, in-person coach, and I didn't want to lie. And I think they really respected that. I
Yeah,
was like,
for
look.
for sure.
So for anyone listening, I literally told RP, like, look, I love everything you guys have done for me, but I don't feel comfortable lying to my followers saying I'm following the RP template when I
Hmm.
am going to be hiring a coach that.
Exactly.
So.
No, I think that's so important because there's definitely been times too where um like people are in like, you can't like shout out, be like, the RP app prepared me for my bodybuilding show and I look like this. It's like, that's not how it works. And it's definitely, for me, there's been times I've used, for example, like where I've used the app and I've done stuff, but when I'm not, I promote other parts of their products and services because I believe in it. Now, the reason I chose to stick with RP was because I feel like there's like a a gap in my coaching that I can't fill right now with nutrition. So it's like kind of like here's like resources written by scientists and stuff like you can
Mm-hmm.
read. So that's really good for me. So that's why I like that partnership there. And what's funny is like you said you couldn't keep up with it. I remember I love RP, but I'm being real with it. There was a few years ago when I just started. That they had more requirements of posts. They had, I think it was like 8 posts a month,
Wow, that's a
but they
lot.
brought that down a lot, which has been great too, because I think um, with marketing, it's all about finding that balance. Do you remember uh, Herb Strong, the CBD
Yeah,
cream that was everywhere?
everyone was
It was
with
like
them.
it was like that, where you're like, okay, guys, I know you're just having to post all these things. You're getting paid to put this cream, and they reached out to me. They sent me stuff. I couldn't get myself to do it because I didn't believe in it. I like killed me. So I was like, they sent me this stuff, so I should probably like do it and sign with them. And I was like killing me on this. Now I look back, I'm like, that's dumb. But I just didn't believe in it. I was like, all these people are just posting all this stuff because this guy can just shell out all this money. But um, yeah, I was like, I can't do this. Not me, like that
Yeah.
really would be selling out. Like, and then that's when I realized too, it's like there's brands you can partner with. Like for me, it's like, my, the supplement brand that I partner with, and then RP Strength. And so it's like, well, I use those products a lot. So, and we have a good relationship. And so I'm gonna stick with that. But the CBD creams and stuff like that, I just can't, get into.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about sponsorships versus one-off influencing deals, because you and I have done a little bit of both. So just to
Hmm.
quickly kind of explain the difference. So a sponsorship is a formal contract or agreement with a company. For example, Chrissy's with RP Strength, as she was just explaining. I've been with Granite Supplements for years. I absolutely love them, and I get X number of product per month in a stipend amount, and then I get like a salary per month. And I actually don't have requirements that I have to do. It's kind of my commission is the proof. That's what they use. That's what I really like, because I do believe in their products. I also write articles, their newsletters, so I'm very involved with them. But right now, they're actually my only required sponsorship. I've let go of a lot. And I guess the difference between that and a one off influencing job is an influencing job is more like a one time advertising job, that you're going to use something, talk about it, promote it, and then it's done. It's not a continued partnership. So I know you did like something really cool with body armor before.
Yeah. So yeah, my two sponsorships that I have like monthly requirements are RP Strength and BSN, which is the supplement company that sponsor me, and I've been with them for over 2 years, almost 3 years. Started as like like affiliate or like a influencer, and then I made my way to athlete, where um, it was pretty much the same. It just makes you a little more special, official athlete. But yeah, so I have those two things, and those have happened. Well, RP happened organically, and then the cool thing with BSN was this random agent reached out to me and was like, "Hey, if I find you a sponsorship or deals, we could have an arrangement where I get a cut of it." And that's how I got connected with BSN actually. So I'm really grateful for that. But that's not something I would normally do. So that's something we can talk about a little bit as agents. But with those
Yeah.
one-off sponsorships, you don't need an agent, but that would
Mm-hmm.
help. But there are tons of websites. There's one called aspire.iq, or like Aspire or something that I've used, and that's how I
Yeah,
got
Aspire.
connected with. That's how I got connected with Body Armor. They have all the influencing jobs listed, and you can, bid on it. Like kind of tell them your price. It is connected to your Instagram or TikTok, whatever you have, and so it has analytics. Like you have this many followers, you get this much engagement. That's all currency to them. That's all saying like, okay, if they post, people actually will see it. It's not, they don't have fake followers, you know, um, they'll kind of see how that is. And then other than that, I'll have brands email me because my email is connected to my TikTok and my Instagram. Recently I had a marketing company that works with Rain Body Fuel email me through the email on my TikTok. And I'm like, cool. And so they asked me my prices and everything like that. I give it to them. They say, okay, we'll get to the brand and then we'll get back to you. And they get back to you, and you keep that going. And so there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can do it on like a platform like Aspire. You can have a marketing agency or a brand reach out to you via your email or a DM, or you can have an agent. Or if you really like a brand, email them, DM them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wearing their clothes, tag them. Create those relationships of people you actually like. But yeah, those one-off deals are usually, you'll say, okay, well, for one or two posts, we'll give you this, and you do a whole contract. It's all the legal stuff, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, excuse me. So the one-off deals are interesting. So I remember it was the summer of 2021, I did so much influencing per se, and I actually made like 20% of my income that year came from one-off deals. And it started through my first one ever was this women-owned company called Parity. and they were just talking about some Title IX things and how it was unfair that women weren't paid as much. So it was just a company I liked. I signed up for their newsletters, and they reached out to me, and I ended up doing a campaign with Microsoft. May was mental health awareness, and I was just talking about like anxiety and how people face it, etc. So that was a really cool like one-off deal. And then I remember I told them after, like, hey, like I would love to do more like that. Do you have any recommendations? And they sent me Aspire, which you talked about. So I went on, made a profile, and kind of like when you're on a job search, I was excited because it was something new, and I was like, again, the quarantine just ended. I was kind of just in like workaholic mode. And I want to talk about that because when you lived in California, we joke, we were like, we were such influencers. Like that was our pinnacle of influencing, where we didn't get off our phones very much. And
Right.
I applied for like 1 million, and I actually just pulled up a list that I was looking through before our call. And some of the brands I work with, Lull Mattress, which I really liked, Microsoft, as I just mentioned, Flex, which is a company, Real Good Foods, ISSA, RPM Training Company. And a lot of them were linked to things I liked or believed in, whether it be like they were trying to raise awareness for a certain campaign. If you want me to go down this route now, I can kind of talk about one of my quote unquote nightmare stories, I guess.
Yeah, give it to us.
So I was very excited. Real Good Foods, which is a big company that is in the freezer section and major grocery outlets, reached out to me, and they wanted to send me protein ice cream, and they were going to send me, I believe it was $500 for the post. So I was like, okay, cool. And my whole game was like, I'm always going to be authentic, and I was in bodybuilding prep. So I jokingly took a picture of it with Rosie eating it and said, like, I'm not eating it, but my dog is. And they were cool with it, They were like, we love that you're being, they were like, we love that you're being authentic, blah, blah. And I was like, I was like, I'd also try this from you guys because they had like a protein bowl. I was like, I can eat that after prep. And they were like, cool. And then all of a sudden, like 3 months into it, it got ugly because they were like, look, we're doing a big push for our cauliflower crust pizza. And that's when I like stopped because I noticed I was getting anxiety. Like it just didn't resonate with me because I'm not going to eat. If I'm going to eat pizza, it's not going to be cauliflower crust frozen pizza.
You got to stay true to you, okay?
Yeah.
All about that cheesy stuffed crust pizza.
Yeah. And again, not that that's a nightmare story. It just kind of got, at the time I was a little bit worried about, it almost became like an addiction because I was like, I don't want to just say no to $500 just for making a post. And when I say just making a post, it's not always that easy. Like work does go into it. And that's kind of another problem because I started, again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. I started worrying and being like overly concerned with what I looked like. Like I would have to do my hair or have to do my makeup or dress and be all matchy. On that day I was making influencing posts, and I kind of felt like when I was doing that, I felt fake because I was like, I am getting dressed right now to take a picture.
Right. Yeah, it's like if I wasn't, I wouldn't be putting my makeup on. No, I totally get that. And I think that brings up a good point. And I think that shows what kind of person you are too, because being self-aware is a great thing. Like if something's giving you the ick and giving you a little bit of anxiety about if you're like trying so hard to post this cauliflower pizza ad, you're like, can't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth, it's $500 worth you're standing, and also trust in yourself and also others trust in your own brand and your coaching, right? Like if you suddenly started, selling this cream that you rub on your belly that burns fat, I'd be like, I don't know if I'll ever really trust much of when Brittany posts Granite, then I probably won't trust it as much, right? But now when you post Granite, I'm like, I can really tell you really like it. So I think that's really important too. Like, and that really would be the selling out part. Like, just because you can get that. But if you're like, this is giving me anxiety, just do this like cauliflower crust pizza. It's just not worth it. If it's making you feel that way. So, and I can totally relate too with, just feeling, anything you do on Instagram or social media, you're going to feel self-conscious about. I mean, we've gone through the same thing where comparing others, because maybe we don't look like the average influencer,
Hmm.
or something. I don't know. And we
Yeah,
don't and we
no.
don't and we don't edit our photos to be crazy fake or anything. So it can definitely, I kind of wish I was like that. I wish I could post a cauliflower pizza after I Facetune my waist, but I can't. So like it's just got to be us out there with stuff we like. So I can totally relate there. It's a struggle when you do work on social media. You just have to put yourself in a place where you disconnect from the hateful comments. I mean, when you do this, brands do are judging you based on your engagement rates and how many people are using your codes and stuff like that. So if you can't separate that from your true self-worth, then it's not for you. But it also is a learning process because I used to be very stressed about it. I still do get stressed about it because I want to please my the sponsors that really take care of me. I just have two sponsors, and I think they really take good care of me. So I want to do a good job. So it does kind of stress me out, but at the end of the day, I can't say that makes me ugly or not strong or not cool, because people aren't engaging with my
Hmm.
stuff. So you have to separate that out because influence it is all about your popularity, and honestly, eventually the brands might drop me because I'm not popular enough. Because
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's the
new
truth.
generation of strength athletes and TikToker stuff are going to come up, and it might end, or I can evolve with myself. Let's say we have kids, we become like mommy influencers who lift, or something like that. You evolve, but still, just knowing that, um, if you want to play the game, you gotta play it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see both of our evolution. And that's kind of, you and I have had many conversations offline just talking about like the stress of what we feel like we should look like when we're influencing. And that's kind of how we came out with this podcast because we were like, you know what? Maybe we aren't as popular anymore. And if you scroll back at both of our
Sorry,
Instagrams,
that's funny. I'm like, maybe
you
we're
know what
not as
I mean.
popular.
You know
I
what?
know, but
And
it's true or not.
we're in our 30s, where yeah, it's different. But I don't, not to say one was, I'm grateful for the experience, but if you scroll back, like you said, when you were living in LA, and walk me through kind of what, when you were in the pinnacle of like your social media influencing, what was your day to day like? Because I can tell you what mine
Oh
was
my
like, and I
God.
know it wasn't the best quality of life.
No, I'm so embarrassed by it at this point. I feel like I was so mentally drained and exhausted from, posting stuff online and engaging with people. Like I mean, I got all my work done for my clients. I was always a good coach to them, but I didn't wasn't able to grow and actually like build the business I wanted. And that's why I moved out to LA. My day to day, I mean, obviously I was obsessed with strongman. So I would wake up, eat breakfast. I would go train at like 11 a.m. Then I'd come back and do some work and, make all my posts and stuff. That was pretty much, I'd hang out with friends. That was pretty much it. But it was very stressful because of all the constant, like, just overstimulated. I was getting
Mm-hmm.
and it's so funny. I'm not trying to make the sob story because it's like I was getting thousands of followers a day. I was, but to me that was stressful because you put out content and you want to keep pleasing those people, so it keeps going and put out more. So as my popularity was rising, my sanity was declining, and my business was just like, I was living paycheck to pay, month to month. My rent was super high. Of course, I was having cool opportunities. Like I was growing, I was making those relationships, but I was focused on, maybe too focused on growing the social media, and pleasing my followers. I just was trying to please, 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 and putting everything out there. It was exhausting. I'm glad I did it now because I'm able to reap the rewards with my loyal followers, loyal clients. And I have so many connections. I met I've met you and all those, other people in the industry. But I mean, so maybe your day of life was a little bit different than mine, but yeah, it was just like posting, editing, it's just for what I wasn't getting necessarily paid for that much. And now looking back too, it's like maybe I probably also worked for too many people that weren't really paying me. I should have just worked more for myself.
Yes.
With different sponsorships and stuff like that and trying to please different people. I'm like, That's probably why moving was so good. I'm sitting in South Carolina on my computer, actually working and for myself.
Yes, exactly.
So,
So
what was your day to day like though? Because I know we had
mine,
similar, but I found I probably like worried more than I worked
yeah, well,
productively. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I was always working, but a big part of that was because I was like worried about working. But yeah,
That's
so
me. That's how I felt too. It's just so much anxiety.
mine was about a full year of doing that, and I was still a coach like you. I was a good coach. I always placed answering my clients above everything, like to the point where like I wouldn't even
Yeah.
post if I didn't answer all my clients. Now I have better boundaries, and like I actually just wrote about that. But my day to day, so I lived by myself, and I actually remember thinking like, how am I ever going to live with someone if this is my life? Because I'd wake up, I'd post my breakfast, then I go out for a walk. Like, I feel like I had to kind of show, I
Yeah.
had no privacy really because I wanted to show people, like
Mhm.
set a good example and show them what I was doing every day, like what my habits were, what I was
Mhm.
eating, what my training was. And once you do that, like you said, like you set a certain standard. And then I remember, like, if you didn't post, people would be like, what happened or something. And that would just give me anxiety because I felt like for the brands I was working for, I set the standard so high that it was hard to kind of go back and 'cause I was working for free essentially for a lot of
Mhm.
not free, like I was getting paid, but I was
Right.
going my tactic was to go above and beyond and show how good I am, but I wasn't putting it I actually learned
Yeah.
that from you. Like I wasn't putting it back into my own business.
Mhm. Yeah, it's because 'cause we're people pleasers and we wanna do a good job, and so that's what I would like also I would hope people can kind of maybe skip that mistake. It might be just a lesson everyone has to learn if they start, becoming more popular on social media because you do get wrapped up in it, and I hate admitting it, but for sure, I mean, uh and it might have just been a learning thing for me to put more time into my own brand and leverage my relationships online more for myself. Not to be, we want to help each other, right? But there's definitely, even I've had friendships end over me leaving a brand or just
Oh
like,
wow.
or not too many, like, just, trying to put myself first for once, like
Yeah.
because like looking back, I just started getting like kind of resentful. Like working, I felt like I had all these obligations I had to fulfill, but none were for me. Um,
Hmm.
although they did help me in the long run a little bit. But I love when looking back and people went, "Oh, when you're in California, you're killing it." I'm like, no, I wasn't. But
Yeah.
I did have a lot of fun and a lot of cool opportunities, um, for sure. So we learned those lessons, and now it's kind of nice because if you kind of just take a deep breath, you don't need to take every opportunity. If something that makes you
Yes.
doesn't make you feel good, don't take it. Um, that's just how it is.
Yeah, the positive lesson I learned was to just, once you start doing it, it does become easier. Like, I remember I was so self conscious to talk to the camera. And then once I was doing it, I was like, oh, this is easy. And I've taken quite a few steps back where I don't do that as much as I try to just maintain my privacy a little bit more. So that helped me a lot, though, in
Mhm,
terms of just kind of conquering a fear, getting
mhm,
over it, and I guess it's a double edged sword because I did care more about what I looked like, but at the same time, I'd be like, whatever, this is what I'm going to look like today. But I find myself like compared to now, like I got my hair done a lot more. I even got my nails done and stuff like that. So I don't do that as much anymore. I think that was when I was like overly concerned with the whole appealing to brands and wanting to look a certain way. But that was also tied into the bodybuilding industry more. And I
mhm,
think it's just kind of a blatant fact that there's more money in bodybuilding than strongman. It's just more popular.
mhm,
More brands recognize it. So I guess that goes hand in hand. And yeah, for me, that was like 2022 through 2021. It wasn't until I up and moved. It wasn't until I moved to Washington with Ben, my boyfriend, when I was in like a foreign place that I felt uncomfortable talking to the camera as much when like I was just kind of
mhm,
trying to learn how to live with someone again and not because he's not big into influencing
mhm.
like at all.
Yeah, for
So he comes
sure.
from like an academia background, so it's like completely different. So
I went through
yeah,
the
that's kind
same
of where I placed
thing.
it.
hmm So I went through the same thing too when I moved here in with Gary because he was working from home at the time. So it was a little weird because also then you're getting into their own privacy. So if I'm always like, hey, and then I'm like, Gary, which I do all the time now, but like at first, you don't want to like it. It's just weird. They might not understand. You're kind of scared of the judgment there. You're not going to understand that. I'm just always like, hey, look at me. That's myself. Like because it makes you when you bring someone else in, it makes you realize how self-centered and self like absorbed it is. And not saying I was like or we are like self-absorbed, but the act of that and telling everything you're doing throughout the day, it is. It's just when like you realize that when someone else is there watching you do it. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah. And I was always so self conscious of that because I remember
And
I
I
was
was
like going to.
self-conscious about that too. And I think that makes us like that just shows that we're not, we have that self-awareness. I wish I could just be like always like look at me and not be embarrassed. I still get embarrassed when I film in the gym, but I do it anyways because I'm just like, hey, I'd be respectful. I'm respectful about it, and this is my livelihood. Like, let me do my
Yes.
thing. But I still get a little ashamed of it because I'm like, like, oh, I'm gonna go do a photo shoot today. Like, I'm paying someone to take photos of me for my brand or for this or for someone else's brand, like some kind of thing. It's a weird thing to be like, yeah, I'm gonna model today, like because for me that at least was weird because I never was into that stuff growing up. So like going to do a photo shoot or something like that is definitely even that's like weird. You
Yeah.
figure out it's a little bit more weird when you move out of LA and then South Carolina. Like that. It's just not what people are just doing every day.
Exactly. You mentioned earlier about working with an agent. Now, I want
Mm-hmm.
to share that was to this day, the biggest regret,
I'm
biggest
sorry.
business mistake I have ever made. So I'm sure your experience is a lot differently. I want to share where my
Yeah.
headspace was and what I thought and what happened.
Yeah.
So
Share it.
I worked with
I've never heard the story.
I worked with an agency during, so it was kind of after, like I was just talking about when I blew up and I was being super influency, like 2022. So I kind of had like a mental breakdown after I was in a plane accident, which is for a whole nother episode.
I
But
know. Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
quickly realized like it was just a wake up call. I was like, I can't be on social media every day. There is so much more to life. And I think I was in such a state of shock. I jumped to the other side too quickly. So I was like, all right, I'm going to let someone handle my social media. I'm going to hire an agency so
Mm,
that I can get a completely different job. It was still in fitness, but I was going to work for a company called Techno Gym. And I was like, cool, this will like get me off social media. I'll have someone else handling all the business partnerships. I've already created it, and I'll just coach a couple people. So reached out to an agency that came from a trusted source where they basically looked at all the contracts I currently have, and they took 20% of the income I was getting. Cool, not that bad. Until very quickly I realized part of working for yourself and having your own brand and cultivating that, people want to work with you, not someone else. So they were
mm-hmm.
sabotaging relationships I had. Like the apparel sponsor that I had for years told me, literally wrote me an email. He's like, Brittany, look, I'm telling you this because I like you and you're a hardworking girl. Your agents are trash. They are not respectful to me. Like they were just trying to get more and more
Right.
money, but they were going about it in a very tacky
Mm-hmm.
way, not something I would do. And it was a nightmare. And then, I ended up firing them, but because I had signed a contract, I had owed them money. So I remember they weren't even doing anything for me anymore. And I got a bill at the end of the year that they took 20% of everything. Even and they were supposed to help me get more and leverage ones. No, they didn't. They just worked with what I currently had and took it.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah.
That's
So
so messed up. And I would also say too with people maybe in our situation who are strength athletes or online coaches looking to make a little extra money with sponsorships and stuff like that, you definitely don't need an agent. Leverage your relationships you already have with the people who you buy equipment from, sandbags from, supplements from. We have, we probably have friends with business leverage those and make connections like that. With my agent experience, it was an agent who just reached out to me over email, and I was kind of just like, I mean, he said, if you want to send me anyone like to negotiate for you, then I'll just take 10% or something. I forgot what it was. And then if I bring you someone, you sign with them, I take 15% or something. I don't know what it was, or 20%. Um, so there's nothing to lose. There's nothing I had like put down or anything. And then he brought me I know we're talking about CBD. It wasn't a cream though. It was actually something I liked. Um, he brought me like a small deal there, and it was fine. It's stuff that I wouldn't have gotten on my own. And then when he brought
Mm-hmm.
me my supplement sponsor, um, I mean, it was something that I wouldn't have got on my own either, even though it was a supplement sponsor. It was just someone, they're a huge, brand, they're a huge like company that like, has different brands and stuff. It's just like a globo thing where it's like hard to get into, at least what I mean, I don't know how they normally do it. I don't think they even normally work with agents, but anyway, somehow he got me in with, and I love my sponsor so much. And he does take a cut, but he also negotiates something where I'm okay with, where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, should take your cut. I'll take this, and I like, I also get a bunch of free product and stuff. And I just love them so much, but I wouldn't have ever gotten that connection without him. But I've never like sent him people to negotiate or whatever. And,
Yeah.
and that's how it is. That's fine. And now that I worked with the supplement company for so long, I even thought like, oh, like now that I've signed as an athlete, that means like he didn't really give them to me. Can I just like somehow like legally cut that relationship so I can get all my money? Because I do all the work. I mean, for years, he just got a cut of my shit. This is how it works. But that's just how it is. Legally, that's just how it works. And so he'll get it until I'm not with them anymore. But I wouldn't have had it without it. But I would say you don't need an agent or sell your soul. Maybe if you're
No.
trying to get like gigs, like be on, a movie or something like that, or get in with, I don't know, Johnson and Johnson. I don't know. It's like a big companies, sure. But yeah, so for me, it was just like this guy reached out to me. I was like, well, there's nothing to lose. Hey, you want to try to find me something? And try to find me something, and if I like it, I'll take it. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, hey, that's fine with me. But yeah, definitely. Uh, and even some sponsors definitely have told me too, like they're turned off, like they normally don't work with agents. They would be turned off by that for sure. So don't be like, I need to get an agent now. Just for
Yeah.
me, I had like a good opportunity, and it's worked out so far. I mean, that's fine. It's better to have this money than nothing at all. Just to take a cut.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whatever. It's just for one sponsor.
Mm-hmm. Another little piece of advice that I wish I had known before, and like I can use a live example. Like I am going to do Fourth Frontier. This is a heart rate monitor that I was just sent. It was through Aspire. They reached out to me and they had sent me what they wanted me to do. And I said, no, that is way too much for too little of money. Plus, you need to send me the product first so I can test it before I agree to anything. So I haven't signed yet because I just got it. I want to actually make sure that it works and it's something that I'd actually use before I recommend it. Like, because I've been sent things in the past that sound so cool. Like there was this wearable. There's so many different wearables now. I can't remember. It was supposed to like help with brain waves and anxiety, and I used it, and I'm like, this is literally just a $500 vibrational thing. So I was like, hey, I can send it back. They're like, no, no worries. Like, just keep it. But I was like, I'm not influencing for it because
Yeah,
I
for sure.
don't like it. So yeah, just a little tip is just because something isn't a contract, like you can always, like, you work for yourself or you're
Hmm.
working for this brand, like you can always
Hmm.
negotiate. And again, it's going to take a
Yeah.
while to get there. Like I want everyone to know that's listening is like we worked for it. Like we were posting all the time, like
Yeah, we
free
we we
information.
worked it for free for years to build
Yes.
up something that companies would want to work with. So if that's what you do, you do need to put the groundwork. It's just like, I think you said this last time, like getting strong. It's like you actually got to like work for it, and then you can win the competition. That that's kind of how it is with influencing. You have to build your online presence and stuff like that. But one last thing I just want to add to, that people I don't think about is just like the legality and the ethics of influencing. Like a lot of small brands get away with it, like not disclosing that something's an ad or sponsored, or even it's even illegal to use um, certain music and like your reels and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. You have like there's depending on how big the brand is, there are going to be other little hoops you got to jump through, um, legally and stuff like that. I think we don't realize that because there's a lot of like smaller brands who kind of get away with it. But like I was laughing earlier because you said, "Oh, Rosie's eating this." At one time, I had to get something approved by the legal team for this brand, and it was like just my dog was in the photo with me, and I was holding something, and something, a product you can eat. And they're like, well, this is not, it's not a product for animals, so we don't want the animal in it. Or like,
Okay.
even one time I said, oh, that I think this tastes good. I couldn't. I
Can you say
like
that?
legally I couldn't say that. I was like, oh, and then yeah, there's just a lot of stuff with that. I just think it's very interesting. So you always should make it known that it's a sponsored post or an advertisement. And I think legally they're cracking down on that a little bit more. It's just
That's
something
good.
interesting because there's a ton of brands, especially in the fitness industry, that like just definitely don't. You'll never know it's an ad, but the
So I know we're
consumer
getting to
needs to
that
know.
45.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. That's very, very good point. Ethics. Yeah, just double check everything. We're trying to keep this about 45 minutes so people don't get, bored. I know how attention spans are these days, but I just wanted to end it really quick with maybe share what was your favorite like influencing gig? Like either you had fun like making the content or what was it?
Um, Man. Well, what's yours? You go first. I gotta think about it.
Um, I have two, but first, I already mentioned like when I worked for Microsoft and it was mental health. That was
Hmm.
kind of something that I always was passionate about talking about. So that was really cool. The most fun I ever had though was me and Ben when we first lived together. So he wasn't into influencing, and I was like, "Oh, I bet I can find us something." And I kind of looked for one that we could do, and then I got sent it to me. It was a heavy metal band in the UK called Creator Official, and they had this new hit single called like
Oh my
"Strong is the
gosh.
Strong." Strong is the Strong. So him and I just took some videos of us like deadlifting and doing stuff, and he was like, "Wow, we just got $500 for that. That's so cool." So that was a lot of fun because it was a song that I would have posted for a reel anyways. That was when reels were doing really well and like making big bucks. So that was like last
I
summer.
know that's yeah.
It's a whole
Um,
different topic.
I know. I'm having trouble kind of pinpointing what my favorite one is. I'm like, I know I must see on my like story, that something, but I mean, I love my sponsor BSN because I've got a lot of opportunities with them. We got to go to Olympia and they treat us really well. But with actual like advertisements and stuff. So the what's just fresh in my mind is what I'm doing this week, which I haven't even done yet. But I'm gonna do some like fun, creative stuff for Rain on TikTok, and I'm gonna like be like doing fun strongman stuff. So I think that'll be cool because for so long lately I've been having to fake it till I make it really, not really, but like be doing like bicep curls instead of strongman stuff because I'm injured. So I'm just excited to like create something. More fun and like using stones or like, pulling a truck and stuff like that will be cool.
Yeah, the cool stuff. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Make sure, so again, we're filming this, it's May 24th. We are doing a push for June. So please make sure that you subscribe, you follow us on our Instagram, which is just Barbell Business and Boobs. And then I'm B_Dimes and Christy.
Crispy_creams.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. And if you have any questions for us or on this topic specifically, leave them below, or you can even DM us and will give us ideas